Look, I've got a background of implementing CPM solutions in a number of different environments for government, for not-for-profits, and for education providers. Currently, I'm working for RSPCA New South Wales, which is an animal welfare organisation. And in not-for-profits, you're often in a small team. You don't have a lot of resources. There's a lot of constraints. Funding is tight, and you need to do things on a shoestring. And whenever I've joined organisations, I've always inherited, as a leader in FP&A, inherited a very complex spreadsheet that links to a lot of things and has all the critical data and produces a bunch of reports, and it also has hidden errors in it. And it's actually dangerous to work with those in those sorts of environments. It's dangerous from a data quality and a reporting quality perspective, and it's also dangerous for your career from a professional reputation perspective, because you've got to be so cagey about the data that you're issuing because you're not sure it's 100% correct. Spreadsheets have inherent flaws. These CPM solutions, they really allow you to use industrial size databases to capture all your data, and then you can put all the right checks and balances in. It makes teams more efficient. And on my next slide, I talk about some of the dynamics that are happening that we don't have control over, but that are stretching FP&A teams. And one of those things is that data volumes are growing exponentially. There's a whole range of reasons why that's happening, because we've got our devices, whether it's our laptops, our computers, our phones, but we're generating more transactions. We're moving everything digital. There's logs of things being collected. There's loads of email traffic. I don't know about you and your job, but I get 150 emails a day, and then there's social media and all of our audio and video that we're capturing on our devices, and also that we're streaming. The proliferation of data is exponential, and it's the same in the business world and with the data that FP&A works with. And just adding to that, there's also a move to bespoke SaaS platforms that meet particular business needs. Where I'm working at the moment, we did a catalog of all of our platforms, and we had well over 100. Many of them SaaS platforms, all doing bespoke things across the business. And another thing I just want to mention is that it's not going to get any easier. It's with AI, and that's just more data. So it's an interesting time we're in. And if we move on to my next slide, you can see on this slide that I'm talking about very specifically that the CPM implementations give FP&A teams the ability to bring both financial and operational data together in a sustainable way. So the operational data come from a lot of these SaaS platforms. Your GL will provide a lot of your financial information, and bringing those two together is absolutely critical, and it's where the value add is for FP&A. But the more data that you bring in from different sources requires you to have really strong master data management at the center. So a CPM platform will allow you to do that. What I mean by master data management is, and why it's a secret source, is it enables you to structure your data for your reporting. So for instance, in my business, cost center is such an important master data source. It differentiates each of the different departments. It follows the HR org structure, and it assigns responsibility from a financial perspective as well. So it aligns, and we use that then when we're bringing data together from operations or from across the business to make sure that the different data is matched to the different parts of the business, so that we can do all the analysis. And then we can do our volume, price, and mix analysis. And it's critical that we strip out our one-offs. One of the things that you have to think of when you've got a central platform is data security. It's often sort of one of the last things to be put in place, and it's not thought about because you're just spending so much of your time trying to curate your data. But I would say that data security, particularly in a world where there's more and more data, is really critical, because you've got to protect that data, and you've got to make sure that the data is put in front of the people that need it. That's really important. So I would just stress that data security shouldn't be a secondary thought. It should be front of mind all the time. And a lot of the data that FP&A gets access to is quite sensitive. So particularly I'm thinking about if you work in health, it'd be number of patients, where the patients are. You may have patient information, or you may have HR information, salary information. You may have all sorts of access to all sorts of information that you need access to do the analysis, but only you should have access to that, or the managers should have access to that, not the whole organization. And the last thing is, with more data, more demands on FP&A professionals, it's really critical that we use these tools and technologies to help maintain some sort of work-life balance. It's very easy to get tied up and bogged down in manipulating data and producing reports. And on my next slide, I've got some tips, I suppose, in a world of resource constraints around how you can manage those competing work-life balance and other work requirements versus your work-life balances. So what we've done where I am at the moment, and what's worked successfully where I've worked elsewhere, is doing a self-service model. And that is where you set the system up so that it can deliver the reports that people need to them in a timely manner, in a portal that they can use. They can click through to the information that's important to them. They can find the transactions that will help them understand how they're performing. But what's absolutely critical if you set up a self-service model is that you have a well-defined financial framework, and there's rules to the game that you're playing. You're trying to keep the business on its financial roadmap, and you're trying to advise the managers whether they're on or off, and that's what variance analysis is about. But you've got to let them understand, hey, people costs or your labor costs, they stand alone. That is a bucket on its own. It's not allowed to be, you can't have an unfavorable variance there and it's offset by a favorable variance elsewhere. So those rules are really critical, and people need to understand what those are, and you need to spend time, particularly when you get new managers, training them. The other thing I would say is that you've got to have a business partnering by exception model. So you want to be strategically spending your time where there are exceptions, where you're straying from the financial roadmap, where there are strategic issues emerging. That's where the value is. That's where the business needs your help. And so I really focus strategically on trying to hit those areas of exception. You've got to make sure that you define your services. You can't be everything to everyone. You've got to be really strategic, in a small team, resource constrained environment, about where you spend your time. Get your reporting out, get it done, and then focus on those deep dive into those areas that are of strategic importance. That's where the value is.